Good morning and welcome back to 1874. It's time for a match preview show as Aston Villa take on Southampton at Villa Park tomorrow, 3:00 kickoff. I'm your host, Dan Bardell, joined by Sky Sports News' David Reed to preview the game twice in 2 days for me and Dave getting to do shows together. So that is a real treat. This show is, of course, sponsored by Luke Roper. And if you want to get 20% off everything that Luke Roper have to offer, then use the code TVV20 and you'll get that 20% off that I just mentioned. Dave, stonker of a game at Craven Cottage for you last night reporting for Sky Sports News. So I imagine it was a late night, but you're here bright and early, ready to do the preview with a strange light over your left shoulder.
Oh, it's maybe I'll just need to close the curtains just one little bit more.
No, I think it's fine.
It's like a halo over my head. It's just come through.
It's like you've risen from Jesus Christ, emerging into the preview.
Well, it is the time of year. But now, good game last night.
When he emerges, but yeah, carry on.
Good game last night. Fulham looked good. I mean, I like a lot of the things that Fulham have done in the summer in terms of bringing players in, and they look solid. I mean, Brighton changed formation and decided to play 3 at the back. Lewis Dunk had a good battle against Rodrigo Muniz, but I asked Hertzler after the game whether he felt it worked, and he said he did. I thought he kind of said they were good in possession. A little bit of work to do off the ball, but they created enough to at least come away with a point last night. And they were very unfortunate not to come away with a point. But I thought Alex Iwobi was outstanding for Fulham last night. Good game. I was wet through. The wind and rain was howling, and Craven Cottage. It's obviously one of the most traditional football grounds.
My favourite.
But the press area is you are so compact in. You're tight. Your elbows in. And the seats are like dipped seats, so say that's level. But
is it in the newsstand, the press area at Fulham?
No, it's not. So the seats are like that. So you're kind of like leaning back and see over. You've got to do that. Anyway, it's not great for the audio listeners anyway. But check it out on YouTube. Carry on.
No. Okay, let's talk about what we've come here to do then. Aston Villa against Southampton. I will say, I'm just going back to Brighton very quickly. Surprised to see them lose a game. Being a Category A team nowadays, you don't expect to see Category A teams losing football matches. Right, welcome Martin Hastwell, watching live from Melbourne. Great show. And I mean, to be fair to Martin, he said great show as we're rambling about other stuff, and he doesn't know that this show will be good. Maybe he's enjoyed previous shows, but this show might not be good today from us, Dave, but we're going to do our best to...
Do we think that's Melbourne, Australia, or there's a Melbourne in Derbyshire, is there?
I don't
Possibly.
know. I assumed Australia, but I don't know what the time would be there, so...
Late evening would be 5 o'clock.
Let us know, Martin, which Melbourne it is and whether it is Australia and what the time is. I like to know what the time is. Let's go. Leighton says there if...
Good that for later. Good that.
It's Fulham. Dave does everything but talk about Aston Villa on these on these shows. Want to talk about Southampton, Dave, or do you want to talk about Villa? There's no doubt that Southampton are struggling. 5 points, bottom of the league. I've watched a fair bit of them, and I've got to say, I know they got pumped in the week, but generally I feel like they've been in games. But they are kind of the masters of their own downfall, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Martin's in Australia. Thanks, Martin. Great to see.
Good time.
So, yes, Southampton, masters of their own downfall. They've come up playing this style of play. Comparable, I would say, to Burnley last season, though I think they're even more naive than Burnley last season.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Kompany was probably accused a little bit of being a kind of careerist manager where he's thinking about... Maybe unfairly this is, but the story was that he's thinking about his next move and playing football that is more suited to a bigger club in order to catch the attention of bigger clubs, and it was to the detriment of Burnley's attempts to stay in the Premier League. Now, I haven't really heard too much of those accusations towards Russell Martin. I think simply because they're probably doing it worse, if that's the best way of phrasing it, than Burnley. Masters of their own downfall. I think, that if they are to stay up, which is looking unlikely, they will have to do something slightly different and be a little bit more pragmatic. I think they've made the most errors leading to goals.
Every game, it feels like.
Yeah, and it's just not going well for them. They don't have the quality of player, and in particular in the game on Wednesday. I know they had injuries and suspensions for the game on Wednesday, but Was it Wednesday? I think it was.
Yeah.
But that was a really poor performance, and the red card just doesn't help them. Stupid red card. And when things like that are going against you, it's going to be a tough season.
Yeah, no pressers yet, so we don't know the team. There's Southampton problems in goal, though. I don't think Ramsdale will be back for this one. I've not seen anything about him being back. Essentially down to their fourth choice goalkeeper at this point, because Bazunu would probably be number 2. He's injured. McCarthy was number 3 at the start of the season, but made a few mistakes, so he's been taken out. And we're now down to Joe Lumley, an old championship favourite in goal for Southampton, and he's been involved in making mistakes as well. But it just feels whoever's playing for Southampton is making mistakes, which really you have to point at the system. If it's happening every week, I don't think that's the players. I think that's what the players have been asked to do. And I say that as someone that likes Russell Martin.
Yeah, well, it's either the kind of system or sheer player quality. And, Lumley's being asked to do something that I can't imagine he would have. I mean, I must admit, I've not followed his career that closely, but I can't imagine he's been asked to do some of the things he's been asked to do this season in previous years with different clubs. So it's either down to the system and what the manager's asking them to do, or it's down to sheer player quality. And then if it is down to player quality, then it's down to the head coach or the manager to decide, well, if I don't have the players that are good enough to do what I'm asking them to do, then maybe it's me that needs to alter and change. I think it's different, isn't it? It's almost a different story when you're a team at the top of the table and a team at the bottom of the table. You'll hear Pep Guardiola, you'll hear Ange Postecoglou, you'll hear other managers say, there is no plan B, we just need to do plan A better. Maybe even Unai Emery as well, because Villa don't change the way they play when things are going badly. The reason that Villa play out from the back and play the kind of football that they do is because it's, in the manager's view, a sustainable way of getting success on a consistent basis. It's a sustainable way of getting the ball from back to front in regular patterns that will give you results. And it's a better way of doing it than it is pumping the ball downfield and picking up second balls, because you can't control that. You can control how you get from back to front by playing out from the back. And you'll hear a lot of the managers at the top of the table say there is no plan B, we just need to do plan A better. Whereas at the bottom of the table, you feel like, well, maybe you don't have the player quality to do plan A better, and maybe you do need to shift a little bit your playing style. And, if Leighton's listening, he's going to love me talking about Brentford, because when they came up, they were very much a possession-based team in the Championship and thought, we can't do that in the Premier League. And they kind of moulded themselves into a counter-attack side, bought players with pace, strength and physicality, and now they've established themselves and are trying to change that to be a more possession-based side. So if they're the blueprint, Southampton are going about it in a different way. It doesn't look like it's working for them at the moment. I would suggest it's not going to work for them this season, but they can still hurt teams. And as you say, they have been in games. I feel like they've been in games for most of the time. But if they've got to cut out these errors if they want to stand a chance of staying up.
I think you've got to be a bit more malleable. I think you're right to use Brentford. I think Fulham are another one that changed certain things as well when they came up. And, Fulham and Brentford are now established Premier League teams. I would say teams that aren't in any danger of going down this season at the moment, and haven't really in the whole time that they've been back or been in the Premier League, that those two. So I think you do have to change certain things, because if you're wedded to one style and it's not working, and I think it's fair to say for Southampton, it's not working at the moment, you're asking for trouble. And we're in December. They've got 5 points. It's going to be a long season for Southampton if they continue in the manner that they're at. They remind me a little bit of, do you remember Paul Lambert's Villa when he went away to Bayern Munich and watched Pep train, and then came back to Villa and was like, right, we're going to play like this. And the back three was Baker, Clark and Hurd. And you're just asking people to do things that they're not capable of doing. And I look at Southampton's team and the back line, I don't really think many of them are capable of pulling off what he wants them to do. But the other thing that I think about Southampton is they obviously want to play nice football, but they're a bit lightweight. I look at that midfield and think that's a lightweight midfield. That's a midfield that can be got at. And I mentioned Fulham earlier and you mentioned Brentford, but Fulham, when they came up, they signed a player like João Paulinho. You just offered them that little bit of physicality in the midfield. Southampton, to me, they just don't have anything like that, which makes them easy to pick off. Makes them, when they're playing that style of football, it makes them easy to rob of possession.
Yeah, I think they're going to have back Flynn Downs this week, who, probably in my opinion is their best central midfielder.
But even he struggled with it, and he's a footballing midfielder.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you're right. I think are they missing that dominating central midfielder? They brought in Ogachukwu, who I thought was going to be that player. I think he will be available for this game because he couldn't play against his parent club in midweek. So maybe he will come in to firm things up. They do have some talent, Southampton. I mean, when we're talking about defence, I like Taylor Harwood-Bellis. Do I think he's quite at the top level? No, but he's someone who might well get there. I know, but it was early for him. There was a lot of players out, and I think he's someone who could well reach that kind of level. But at the moment, he's kind of feeling his way into Premier League football. Maybe Tyler Dibbling will be back. He's been their breakout star this week. Reminds me a little bit of Grealish, just the way he carries the ball.
Left-footed Grealish.
Yeah, and I think Southampton fans are excited, and rightly so. I think other fans of Premier League clubs are kind of sitting up and taking notice. And his journey's been quite interesting, going to an elite club, not really enjoying it, and then coming back to Southampton and really kicking on in his career. So he will certainly be one to keep an eye on, particularly if Villa are caught in transition. He is someone who can carry the ball a significant distance, so he'll be one to keep an eye on. So they have got some talent. And then up front, will it be Cameron Archer to strike again against Villa?
Yeah, scored last season, didn't he, for Sheffield United? That's something I can see, unfortunately, happening. I think he will start. I think he's been decent for Southampton in the games I've seen. Anyway, it's tough playing on your own up front, as he has done on a few occasions for Southampton in that system. But he does carry a threat. We've seen if he gets a chance, he is a good finisher.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's his major strength, isn't it? And I think that's why. And as you say, it's been difficult for him when he leads the line on his own, because he's not 6'4". He's not gonna consistently fight a centre back and win aerial duels. But what he will do is, if he gets a chance in the box, the more often than not, he will finish, and that is his key strength. And those players are hard to come by as well. That's why he was in demand when Villa were open to selling him, because it's really difficult to find clinical finishers and strikers out there that will finish good chances for clubs that are struggling. So that's why he was in demand. He scored in the game last season, didn't he, at Villa Park? And that was the run that Villa were on at home.
Yeah.
And then we needed the late goal, wasn't it? I think it was Zaniola who got the late goal to kind of that was the opportunity for Villa to go top of the table, wasn't it, last season? The expectation was there. I think the game was live on TV. The expectation was that Villa were going to be top of the table around Christmas, and it didn't quite happen. But Archie, I really like him. I think if Southampton do go down, it might be one of those where he takes another season in the Championship. But I do think he is a Premier League level striker, and I think he will get there.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. We're 13 minutes and 45 seconds in now, Dave, and we spoke about every team in the Premier League except for Aston Villa. So we might as well talk about Villa on a Villa show. Interesting here from John Steele. I hope Mings starts again. I love Pau, but he'll be well rested for Leipzig. I do think Cash Konsa, Mings and Luca Dean is our strongest back four. What are you thinking he'll do? I find it difficult to think that he'll leave Torres out twice in a row. Also, a little bit part of me thinks, will he play Mings twice in that short space of time after his long-term injury and his long layoff? What do you think is going to happen with Villa's backline tomorrow?
Well, I would say yes to both of those things you've just said. I think Unai Emery said in his post-match the other night that Tyrone will be tired tomorrow, and there's no doubt about it. I think Villa have to be careful with his injury, and I think people think about those kind of injuries and think you can come back in a, you build your minutes in a kind of almost linear way, but sometimes it doesn't happen like that. We've seen with Emi Buendia, it can go up and down. These injuries are really, really difficult to manage the comeback. So I think you just have to do what's best for the player. He had a great game, and if he started against Southampton, there's no doubt that I think he would do a very good job. But it's just whether he can manage another Premier League start in such a short turnaround for me. I think there will be one eye on midweek as well in the team selection. But whether that comes at the expense of Pau Torres, I think it'd be Pau Torres at the weekend. I really do.
Yeah. Is there a world where he plays Mings and Torres and plays constant right back and be harsh on Cash? Because I think Cash has been good this season when he's played. Obviously scored in the midweek game as well. Do you see a world where that might happen? I just think Mings won't play.
No, I don't see that happening against Southampton. Potentially, I can see that happening against Leipzig if he wants to make a little experiment in midweek. I can definitely see that happening with Konsa, Mings and Torres starting in midweek. But I can't see that in the Premier League. I think Cash, should continue. He's played very well.
Yeah, we don't know whether anyone will be back from injury as well. So we don't know about Anana and we don't know about Jacob Ramsey at the time of this show. But do you envisage any other changes? Obviously, busy time of year, as I've said every show for the last 3 kind of weeks. You're expecting to see rotation over the Christmas period. Is this one because Southampton are bottom? I'm not saying Villa are going to underestimate Southampton. We can't afford to underestimate anyone at the moment. We need points in the Premier League. But is it one maybe Duran players up front? Is there anyone else you can envisage getting a start?
I think if we'd have been talking about this game and Villa had won 6 on the spin, I would have expected some rotation. But given the form that Villa have been in and the fact that Unai Emery consistently talks about the Premier League being number one priority above anything else, I suspect it will be strongest lineup for the weekend. And then for midweek, he will consider some changes. So whether that will be Duran starting in midweek, Philogene maybe starting in midweek, those kind of players that haven't had the minutes that they probably would like. I suspect it will be full strength again for the weekend and give those players the opportunity to go and get another 3 points, which Villa really do need.
Yeah, Barry Diablo saying Maatsen for Dean to keep Saints pinned back. Could possibly see that being a change that's made, given Luca Dean played pretty much 90 minutes on Wednesday. Maatsen hasn't played much football in the Premier League. You think Southampton, the way they play, will be quite open. Maybe it is one that suits having a bit of extra pace on that left-hand side and suits Maatsen. Probably a big ask to play Kamara again as well, although his minutes have been managed and he's been coming off in games, so maybe he will start again and come off on 60, 70 minutes like he has done in the last couple. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, isn't it? I think that Maatsen one could be one that we see.
Yeah, potentially. I know Maatsen in training has been doing a lot of individual work. So he's been working on body shape and technique and defensively, I think more work than going forward. So maybe I think that's been something that maybe has been levelled at him a little bit in the past. He's great going forward, but is he right defensively? And I know the Villa coaches have been working a lot on how he defends and how he interacts with his other defenders, the other centre-backs when he's on the pitch, body shape when facing up attackers and things like that. So, the coaches are working with Maatsen. It's not like they think, he's not going to be getting in the team soon. They think really highly of him. And so it's about making sure that once he's in, he's ready to do what Unai Emery asks. And we've seen it's taken players time. We've been here before with other players like Yuri Tielemans, for example, who took a little bit of time to get used to things at Villa.
It was probably about this time last year Tielemans started to get going, actually. Yeah,
exactly. And, I've seen a few people posting around, Villa should have spent the money elsewhere, that sort of thing. They didn't. They spent it on Ian Maatsen because they believe in him and they believe that he will be Villa's left back probably for the next 8 years, 7-8 years. So that's why the investment was made. It wasn't a short-term investment. It was an investment for the long term. And they believe he has the quality and he will get really good minutes this season. I've got no doubt about it.
A bit of Dave Reed on the ground there. Getting a bit of ITK information from the training ground, players working on body shape. Love that, Dave.
I'm not saying anything.
Okay, fine. Carry on. We'll continue. Probably because we did the show yesterday, looking back at the Brentford game, and if people want to go back and watch that, then please do. Probably not much else that we can cover, unless you can think of anything, Dave Reed, on the ground.
No, not particularly. I think we're talking about Southampton trying to dominate the ball, but I would expect Villa to try and dominate the football match. And people talking about, oh, we need to try and pin Southampton. Yeah, I mean, I think they will come out and play their own game, but I think if Villa get their out of possession stuff right, they will get chances. There's no doubt about it. If Villa are able to press the centre backs and the full backs, depending on what formation Southampton turn up in, they will offer chances, and it's about being clinical. Then we've seen sometimes that Villa have struggled to finish chances. This is another one where if Villa are going to get opportunities, they need to be clinical and finish them.
And how did we get on with our hot/freezing cold takes? I know mine didn't come off. I said that we would win from behind, so that we won. So I suppose I was halfway there with my prediction. What was yours? I can't remember. Can you remember?
I think it was Leon Bailey. I feel like I'm back in Leon most weeks at the moment.
Played well. I was happy with his performance again. This is a good one from before we do our takes. Later, need to go to work. Before I go, can I ask an important question? Does Dave have a half and half full and Brentford?
No, but if they've got one, I'll take it.
You'll take it. Get it up in Teddy's room.
Yeah.
What are you going to go for? Are you going to go for Leon Bailey again? Because I've got to be honest, that's what I was going to go for.
Okay. Well, if you go Leon, I'll switch it up this week, and I will go for a McGinn goal.
Ooh.
This week. I'll go for John McGinn to score.
Yeah, it feels like a few people are due a goal in the Premier League, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's due one.
Got to say as well, since I've stopped predicting us to get penalties, we keep getting penalties.
Yeah.
You notice that?
Keep that one to yourself. Keep that one to yourself.
David Stiles is going with Martinez to save a penalty. That's his take. John Steele, I'm not sure about your hot take, John Steele, because I'm not sure Mings will play, but it's that Mings will score and we'll keep a clean sheet. I don't see the clean sheet. Got to be honest. And Scotty's asking, has Dave locked himself in the fridge?
I don't know. Does it look cold? I'm not sure.
Just looks like you're in a white. I don't know.
White background.
White back. Yeah, you could be in a video. Don't know if anyone's watched The Bear. Got the Bear vibes from Dave Reid locked in the fridge there. Little spoiler for those that haven't watched The Bear. Right then, enjoyed that, Dave. Shall we go?
Yeah, happy to. Yeah.
Let everyone get on with their day, and we'll get on with ours as well. Thank you ever so much to those that have joined us live, 286 across all platforms at the moment. Always appreciated, always enjoy the engagement. If you've gone on to watch this on YouTube, if you're enjoying what you see, can you subscribe to the channel with your post notifications on? Give the video a like as well, and leave a comment as well with your thoughts ahead of the game. Oh gosh, I'm nearly choked. Audio platforms, if you could leave us a review, that would be great. 5 stars would be preferable. And as I always say, just leave us a nice review. A good review really helps us in the podcast stratosphere. Even though I can't say podcast, leave us a nice podcast review. I'll be back on Monday with Global Greg Evans to look back on Aston Villa against Southampton. Actually, I won't, because I'm not here on Monday. I need to work that out. Right, I'll get back to you about when I look back at the Southampton game. Might have to be Sunday, actually. But yes, thank you ever so much for all the support on the channel and on social media. Really appreciate it. Have a great Friday and enjoy your weekend. Those going to Villa Park, I will see you tomorrow. One thing left to say, up the Villa.